to the Bitcoin Globe, day 1287. If you're not on board the rocket, it's not too late to get on the rocket. We may be witnessing here, as we speak, we may be on the cusp or the verge of this rocket taking off. For the first time, truly, the truest of true rocket takes off. So we've had the previous rocket take off, where it went up to $1,200, but there's probably a lot of things going on. The infrastructure wasn't there. We weren't ready for Bitcoin then. I didn't know about Bitcoin then. Thank God Bitcoin came back for me. It's like the spaceship did start to take off. But it's like, hold on, we forgot a few people. Maybe there's a few people on board like Mike Hearns and some other guys that needed to get off. Circle, all these other places that were on board Bitcoin when the rocket was taken off and then jumped off. And look, now the rocket's going up. Mike Hearns gone. Didn't he predict in the long term that Bitcoin was going to go down? Nobody's prediction can be right. I mean, that was his prediction. That was his attempt at him. I have my own. They could be wrong or right. Nobody can predict the future, really. But we're here. We're here right now, and we could be on the cusp of this rocket taking off. And is that exciting to you? It probably is really exciting to you if you have at least one Bitcoin. If you don't have any Bitcoin, you're not going to be excited about it. You're probably one of those naysayers. Oh, I hope it crashes or burns, or you nitpick something that you just really haven't studied or researched upon. Every criticism I've seen for Bitcoin, there's a coherent answer if they're willing to listen. I can answer some of these questions coherently sometimes, and that's just without letting my emotion be attached to it. Because let's face it, if I didn't have a Bitcoin and it went up to 10,000, 1 million, 1 billion, we're bringing Bitcoin to billions. If it goes up to $1 billion of USD current value, and I didn't have one, hell yeah, I would be. I would be really upset, right? I mean, come on. We need to help out our friends here. Help them get at least one Bitcoin. If your friends don't have at least one Bitcoin, help them to get at least one Bitcoin. If they can't afford, I realize $800 is quite a bit of money now. At least 0.1 Bitcoin at this point. In this point in the game, let's say we bring Bitcoin to billions together as a globe. We bring it to billions. How much is 0.1 Bitcoin then? Isn't that like $1 million, or is that more? Is that $100 million? So that 0.1 Bitcoin could be worth quite a bit, even if it only goes up to $1 million, right? And that 0.1 Bitcoin is worth $100,000 current value USD. That's still a significant increase for just 0.1 Bitcoin. That's not asking for too much to hold on to 0.1 Bitcoin. At the globe, everybody that had internet connection and that understood banking to some degree, like online banking, or took the time to learn how to use like an online banking system, like blockchain wallet is one I like to use. There's so many different wallets that are easy to use. Blockchain wallet's super easy to use, and I think they have the most users. Coinbase is really easy to use, and they have an exchange where you can also buy your Bitcoin. So the infrastructure is there. We are on the cusp. We are on the verge. We are on the brink of seeing great things in the Bitcoin space. However, I feel like even though this is a global currency, there's no reason not to be competitive in it in some ways, like mining. China is controlling the mining, right? Like, at least as far as my research shows and my understanding of Bitcoin shows, China has the mining down. They're making the best miners, and they're mining Bitcoin. They got cheap power. They are mining Bitcoin. Everyone else that mines Bitcoin, like in Venezuela or whatnot, their miners are coming from China. So that time that it takes to ship these brand new miners to Venezuela or US, China's already mining up. That's why I feel like if we have all these solar plants here in US. Like, I've traveled around quite a bit, and I haven't seen as much solar anywhere, even in New Zealand, more so than I've seen here in California. California is leading the way in solar in a lot of ways. There's so many different solar companies. I'm seeing better solar panels. Tesla has their new rooftop tile. It's time for us to start mining Bitcoin. It's time for us to compete with China. We need someone that can manufacture these Bitcoin miners that are competitive with the ones in China and be hooking them up to these solar plants or any other sustainable type of energy where we get free, clean energy. We need to be hooking these Bitcoin miners, and we need to be catching up. If you're in any sort of the energy industry, you need to figure out how to mine Bitcoin. First, we need a manufacturer here in the U.S. I think Bitfury is one we have here in the U.S., but I don't know what they're working on. I don't know too much about them, but they need to be, whoever the miner is, they need to be out on the forefront calling these solar companies, hey, we'll give you a free miner, test it out, see how it works, how much money you're making, and then you can make some purchases. Let's say you give them this free miner, they hook up to the solar plant, and wow, we're using this energy that we're getting from the sun to convert it to a mathematically cryptographic currency that can be used anywhere in the globe. They're gonna want it, and it's gonna help us be competitive with China. I haven't seen too much solar in China. They're probably using I think a lot of them are using hydro and whatnot, but we have a lot of energy here in the U.S. Let's use that energy with our Bitcoin miners to mine Bitcoin for the U.S. And then, I also feel governments and banks should get a little bit of Bitcoin. Like if my bank account right now is giving me dividends, little bits of satoshis and dividends for using their services, I would be more likely to use their service, especially if they're insuring. Right now, they're taking from me all kinds of fees. Right, banks should be paying us, governments should be paying us dividends for living here and working in our country to make it better. If we own this country, if we own a piece of this country, we're going to make it better. If the government owns it, we rely on the government to make it better, and they've just been building weapons. I mean, you just look at the past. I'm not sure the government, had to protect us, whatnot, but it seems like definitely it was controlled by some elites who were more bent on the war mentality. There's a lot of cultural difference. We were just exploited in noise, but I feel like we are on the verge of enlightenment. Bitcoin is the rope that is leading us to a more enlightened currency. I'm trying to bring some of my enthusiasm to you. Feel free to like, share, or subscribe to this channel. Like or share any of the videos. We're here to talk about Bitcoin. I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to learn from you. I'm still learning about Bitcoin. It's one of those things that you just don't research it for a week and be like, oh, I know about Bitcoin. You may know a little bit about Bitcoin. I've been studying it every day for 3 years, and I'm just scratching the surface, just the tip of the iceberg. Andreas Anopoulos, he says the same thing, and he's way wiser than me in Bitcoin space. He's just scratching the surface. This is a new technology like the internet. We don't know where it's going. We don't know what's going to lead, but people are going to be able to develop for it. What AI is going to be able to develop for it. I mean, there's so much going on with the Bitcoin space. Don't want anybody to get left behind that's watching this channel. That's it for this video, day 1387, guys. Have a great day.